First, I just want to warn you, if I do this a lot, it's because I live in Florida and the gnats here are terrible. So, cooking at home can be a great way to save yourself some money. And right now, who wouldn't want to save themselves some money? But even a better way to save yourself money is to have your own vegetable garden. All you have to do is walk outside, pick the vegetables that you need without having to run to the store and spend more money. So, let's talk about how you can grow your own vegetable garden, either your backyard or your patio. What veggies will grow best for you, and then how to plant them. So first, let's determine what are your garden needs. With beginning any garden, you want to ask yourself some very basic questions. What type of environment do I have? Do I have a backyard? Do I have a patio? Do I have neither? If I have any of these, is it mostly sunny? Is it damp and rainy? According to backyardgardener.com, vegetables need at least 6 to 8 hours of full sun to survive. So that should help you whether or not you have a patio that has adequate sunlight or if you have a backyard that has adequate sunlight. Next, you're going to ask yourself, well, what kind of vegetable do I want to grow? Again, we're trying to save ourselves some money, so you want to grow something that you're likely to eat a lot of or consume a lot of. So tomatoes are a pretty popular plant and they're easy to grow. They'll either grow in the pot, in the ground, or they'll even grow indoors if you have neither a backyard or a patio. So let's talk about growing tomatoes and then how to build our garden bed. So let's talk about our garden bed. Again, we briefly discussed whether or not if you had a backyard or a patio. If you have a backyard, before you start tearing up into it, you're going to want to measure it out and find out where is that sunny part of your backyard. If you have a patio and you don't have a backyard and you're going to plant in pots, you'll ask yourself the same question. Where is the sunniest part of my patio? And do I have a big enough pot? Most vegetables will come with an instruction card that will tell you what their depth and their spacing is. So you'll need to know how big your garden needs to be. For tomatoes, they need about 6 to 8 inches in depth and about 18 inches of space. So if you're going to have them in a pot, having a large pot like this one will be fine for one tomato plant. If you want to grow more than one, like in a vegetable garden behind me, you're going to want to make sure you have enough adequate spacing for that. So for growing in the ground, you're going to want to have 2x4s that will barricade off your gardening bed, and then you can build it up. And you'll want to add some extra soil, which will put needed nutrients and fertilizer into the ground. Because I live in Florida, I had to add a lot of extra soil because I have a very sandy backyard. If you live in an area that has a lot of annual rainfall, you're going to want to add some extra lime to that ground. If you have a pot like this one, you're going to want to have a hammer and nails and drill holes in the bottom of it to allow water to seep out, and put a watering pan underneath that pot. You'll also want to add some gravel into the bottom of the pot to allow some adequate irrigation there so you don't have plant root rot. And then add some soil in there with your plants. So now we've kind of determined where we're going to put our plant garden and then what kind of plant garden we're going to do. Let's talk about our tomatoes and planting our tomatoes. Tomatoes need about 6 to 8 inches, as we've already discussed, in depth, and they'll also need 18 inches of space. Your spade here can be a great tool to help you measure out that space. Since it already has markings on it, we know that this right here is 6 inches. So this spade's about 12 inches in length. So you want to go to about the end of the spade in depth into the ground. You'll also need 18 inches of space around the tomato plant. So since this is about 12 inches in length, you'll need about a spade and a half in radius in between each plant. So when you're digging your hole, make sure you have enough space down in there to plant your tomato, and then even add some extra soil if needed. Because I live in Florida, I have to put some extra dirt in that sandy hole to give it enough nutrients and added food. After you build your hole, you're going to want to take that tomato plant and break up the roots underneath of it. This will allow the plant to take to the ground very easily and start pulling those needed nutrients and water straight from the soil. Tomatoes are also a vine growing plant, so we'll need a trellis like this one to grow up. If you're going to have one in the ground, you're needing to put that trellis in the ground and pretty secure. You can pick anything like this up at either your local Lowe's or Home Depot. According to the March 2009 issue of the Iowa State University Agriculture Center, How to Plant Your Vegetable Garden, you're going to want to space out the plants that you put in the ground evenly to allow enough growth of the roots, irrigation, and to keep from each plant choking itself out. Again, same thing with your pots. You're going to want to make sure that you have a big enough pot to allow that plant to expand within that pot. And then also for your tomatoes, you're going to want to put that trellis inside of that pot. So now that we have built our garden either in the ground, as you can see like this one, or in a pot like this one, you can go ahead and put your plant in there and then cover it up with soil and then put mulch around it, and that mulch will keep the soil from drying out and from weeds getting in there and choking out your tomato plant. And then now you can water. So now that we have determined our gardening needs, we have built our garden and we have planted our vegetables, you can now call yourself an expert gardener. And I hope that you will continue to grow yourself some more food there, and you can eventually save yourself some more green in the future.